Alright, once more, welcome back to my Flutter tutorial for the week. I have section 9s and 10s of the Flutter tutorial done now, and I'll be going over them right now. So, to start, I want to preface some stuff. I'm going to give you some vocabulary that's going to be used throughout this entire thing, and they're important to how we look at what we are going to be working with. So for starters, we have a provider, which provides a dynamic value and may also allow you to change the values of stuff. Consumer, which allows you to change the values but also activates the changes. And then we have, along with that, listeners, which ensure that the build method is executed by using watch or read. Later on, I will be talking about some animation stuff, such as explicit animations, which is meaning that you build and control the animation, along with implicit animations, which have built-in animations that Flutter controls. Flutter made those animations so you could use them, and that's what they're there for. Along with that, we have an offset, which changes the actions that would have usually been taken and offsets the distance between animations like that. Alright, so starting off, we have animation controller, which will be that will be in, is it categories? No. Alright, so we have animation controller right here, which is something that allows us to play animations. That's what's happening right here. We're going to be going over the animations first for this. So yeah, so animation controllers allows you to actually play the animations. And VSync is what makes sure that the animation is activating each and every frame. We also have our duration, which is how long the animation is running for, along with our dispose, which will delete the animation after done, so that we're not just taking up space. We also have an animation builder, which is a bit on the nose in saying that all it does is builds our animations so that we can use them. Since that's not super important, I'm not really going to go and find where that is right now. So just because it's a pretty general thing, it's used in most animations. So for now, I'm going to look into forward, which will be in categories again, which is basically saying that the animation will run once, and that's what it's used for. Along with that, we have our drive, which is used in side of, was it? In fact, I'm pretty sure we got rid of drive. But drive is it basically just allows the animation to run it allows to change the offset from the previous to a new one. We also have our tween, which is what we ended up replacing our drive with. Inside of categories again, our tween, we have our begin offset and end offset. As you can see, it does pretty similar things to what drive did, but it allows us to specify values a bit more. We also have our curved animation, which is creates the path basically of what the animation is going to do, and curve, which is the curve to use in the forward direction, which is what we have, is what we said that we will be using for our animation direction. We also have transition builder, which position, which will be inside of meal details.dart, which is a implicit function or widget which allows us to build the Flutter widget that allows the transition to start working, is basically what it is. Rotation transition is used right here, which allows it for a fun little spin effect when you use the transition. We also used tween here in allowing it to not make it so wild when we use that animation. Along with that, turns was used over here, which isn't how many times it spins. Rather, it's just saying we're going to be using this animation claimed right here in it. In the case of this, it's the built-in Flutter animation, so that's why we use that right there. We also have our heroes, which would be used, I believe we have it inside of meal item, which allows us to say, hey, we're on this screen. This is the one that we're talking about right now. And then you'd set the meal ID, which is saying what screen we're on. Hero allows for tag to tell you the animation what screen they're on, basically. And in doing so, we allow meal ID to be able to use between multiple screens so that we have that nice seamless animation right there by doing that. Moving on to technical stuff in backend versus what we've been doing so far, just being front end, we have we're going to be going over our provider, consumer, and listeners again, which will be in the functionality area of Flutter. So to start, we have our consumer stateful widget, which will be in tabs, I believe. Yes. Which allows us to use providers in a dynamic way. Along with that following, we have our consumer state, which, consumer widget, which would be used in stuff like this, which is just the alternative of that, and it is used in a static way. We have all of our watches and reads. Reads are used in a very different way than watches because in the case of read, it is preferred not to use. Generally, we want to be using watch, but reads just have the provider read it without listening to it, along with watches, which allow for the value of the provider to return and rebuilds the widget. It's the one that we generally want to use just in case we have to change something later on the line. So along with this, we have our dot contains, which we have gone over before, but it was very important in this, in the case that it checks if something is stored in a certain value. In this case, if I can find it, we used it over in meal details, which had us check what our meal was, allowing us to be able to favorite it and save it to that meal instead of it being for like every meal that we favorited. We also have all of our notifiers, which are used all around basically constantly, and it obtains the state that the notifier is attached to. In this case, it would be favorite meal providers that notifier is obtaining. We also have all of our references, which allow the use of listeners and ensure you can pass data through all of your widgets. and late, which if I can find that real quick, I believe that'll be in meal items. No. Categories. Okay. So we have it over here, which allows you to use the animation later and just tell Flutter, hey, this is going to be used later. I know that I haven't really done anything with it, declared anything, or really messed with it at all, but it's going to be used later, so don't give me red squiggles. So now to do a quick little test of what my app does. As you can see, a lot of this was just animation style stuff. So in that case, we had nothing happen because we didn't set an animation to be played off of that. But if we switch between these two screens, you can see that slide up animation, which was done by using our explicit animation that we made ourselves. Along with that, as I said earlier, we have this, which was made using our heroes, and this, which was using our rotational. All of our functionality was ensured to work. It already worked well, but by using providers, we ensured that all of our animations would be, or all of our stuff would work, and we could just call from here instead of having it in every single one. It made it a lot more faster to run and a lot more efficient and just easier to write. And overall, that is what we went over today in our Flutter app. And hope you join me next time. I will be talking about the next topic, which we'll figure out when we get there. All right. Hope you guys have a good night and see ya.